Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dushan, and I'm the host for today's workshop. So, once again, welcome to the Wireless Application Development Fundamentals online workshop. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. So, here is a gentle reminder if you get disconnected, please join back using the link. And if you have any question, please leave your question at the chat box. The objective for today's workshop is to empower participants to develop a mobile application that could be executed on their own mobile device. So this workshop will be divided into two sessions. The topics for session 1 are basics of text scripting, HTML, CSS, and followed by basics of JavaScript and AJAX. And lastly is the installation and configuration of Visual Studio Code, Node.js and Expo client. So the topic for session 2 are React Native with React.js and wireless application development. Next, I would like to introduce today's instructor, Miss Loo Yim Ling. Miss Loo Yim Ling is actually a lecturer at Department of Internet Engineering and Computer Science, Leo Kong Chen Faculty of Engineering and Science, Utah Sungalong campus. Ms. Lu obtained her Master of Information Technology and Bachelor of Computer Science in University Tenaga Nasional. Now, without further delay, I will turn the time over to Ms. Lu.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
I hope that everyone can see the slides, the screen that I've shared. Okay. All right. Now, good afternoon to everyone again. Regarding this workshop, there are some of the questions that are being addressed with your registration. So I would like to address some of the questions today, and we will revisit tomorrow to look at whether these questions have been addressed or not, and we will address the rest of the questions. All right, so I've highlighted, I've bolded in green for those that I'm going to address today. This workshop basically, thank you for Tsusan for helping us to lay the foundation of what we are going to go through, and also the ground rules. Now, what we have for this workshop is basically what was understood was the participants as from public. Okay, you are going to be in the range of primary and secondary schools. So when I look into the registration itself, it contains more than that. So the range here is really from primary school until a manager and also researcher. So I hope that whichever contents that I have in this workshop can actually lay a foundation. So in the end, we are going to achieve that objective where we actually understand the basic, we would understand the basic of how to develop a mobile application itself, a wireless application development. So because of the range of diversity that we have for all the participants, I would try my best not to speak jargons. So if I did so, if I do so in the workshop, please remind me of some of the terms that you might want to understand more, or some of the terms that you have not come across. You can actually just nudge in the comment section so that I am able to actually re-explain it in a different term. Now, when it comes to the preliminary questions that we have, how to download and install application, Visual Studio Code, Node.js, Expo client. Okay. When we come to Visual Studio Code, I believe that all of you have received the email from Miss Lee Won-Xiang itself. She had sent the link for you to actually download this application itself, but I have not actually mentioned about Node.js Expo clients before the workshop. So some of you actually are knowing some of these programs itself and applications itself. So I would assume that you have actually come across, all right, wireless application development. So don't worry about the Node.js and also Expo client, because we will be going through in this session itself. We will be installing right in this session itself. And some of us might not have Visual Studio Code. If what happened if some of you haven't downloaded it yet, don't force yourself to download it now. So you can actually use Notepad. So later I will just let you have the two-way to actually script, all right, what we would like to actually script later using Notepad, or if you have the Visual Studio Code, then it will be better. Now, another question will be, is this workshop suitable? So as I've mentioned earlier, it is actually tailored for new learner in HTML or in JavaScript itself. So I will be gauging into really basic things about HTML, about the scripting language itself, all right, before we come into React. All right, before we come into something that is called React.js. So there goes the more explanation on React.js. That one would be, because of the limitation of the workshop itself, I would not know the depth of what you might want to have to know about React.js. So that one we may want to address later in the sessions. So let us look into wireless application development itself. Here comes these words, these terms, okay? When we look into wireless application development, when we look into web application development, so what are the differences and how actually people approach them? Now, wireless application development, it seems to be a really technical word, but most of the people nowadays, they know it as the mobile application development. So whichever that you have in Google Store, in App Store, you call it as a mobile apps. So here comes, we are in this workshop to look into how actually it can be developed, how actually we can construct an app as such on the Google or the App Store itself. Now, we have different approaches, we have different methods, we have different ways to actually quote and unquote code. So some of you have actually mentioned about coding, about scripting, about Java, this kind of big words. So there are two approaches that is common that are common right now. One is people might go through React Native. React Native is a platform where you can actually develop a mobile application for iOS and also for Android. So using React Native itself, you can actually aim for two different kind of platforms. So the application that you have developed, it will not be just for Android. It might be able to be deployed on an iOS platform. Now, React Native itself, it is using the language of JavaScript. So some of us might know it, even a very different term, which is React.js, which is actually because React Native use JavaScript in their own way. So it's like, I claim that this language is becoming my child because I am using JavaScript, but it is not really JavaScript because I mutated. I actually changed the DNA of that language. So now I claim it as a React JavaScript. Because some of the words I actually introduced to it. So there goes the React.js itself, but the parent, the home background is actually JavaScript itself. Now, Xcode, when we look into Xcode itself, it is mainly for iOS. It is mainly for any of the iPhone, any of the iPad that you've seen nowadays. It is strictly in Objective-C is before this. So before they changed their language, before they upgraded it into their own iOS claimed language, which is Swift now. So before this, they were using Objective-C, and now they are using the language of Swift. It is really, really like speaking Bahasa Melayu, speaking English, speaking Chinese, Mandarin. So it's like we are having different languages, the same concept. So you don't need to be bothered by, oh, how come there are so many programming languages? Just like our human form of communication, we have different languages. There goes the machines and there goes the computers. They have their own languages as well. So looking into React Native JavaScript itself, how is it different from Swift? Now, if we look into an example over here, you can see that React Native, it can actually be deployed on an iOS device. And within this iOS device itself, okay, it actually contains these codes behind. So these codes, all right, these quote and unquote codes, we call it as script. All right, it's JavaScript. Why we don't call it as codes? Okay, later we'll look into it. Why is it not a coding actually? Now, looking into this and look further into Xcode Swift. Now, when we look into this Swift language itself, it might contain something that is a little bit different from React Native itself, but the context are the same. The basic fundamental are the same themselves. They have the same structure. They have similar words. All right, when you look into container itself, content, container. So here comes in Swift itself, it's you can actually see containers also. So there are some of the repetitive kind of words that is used across languages. So why I show you this, because when you have the basic word, all right, when we learn a language, all right, not a programming language yet, but when we learn a language, when we learn a new language, we learn words, all right, certain common words, and then we learn how do these words come together, merge, and form a sentence itself. So this is what we are going to do today. We are going to look into some of the common words and why do they form in this way. And hopefully in the next session, we will actually be able to understand why in such a way that React Native put JavaScript into application as well. Now, in order for us to understand why some of the words form in this way, we have to look really back into the basic, which is the language that it is speaking. Now, when we look into scripting language itself, not coding language, but scripting language. Now, I would like to say that the main difference between programming or coding language and scripting language is when we talk about coding, we need an interpreter to actually help us to interpret that codes that we put into. And after interpretation, they have to repackage it. And after repackaging, they have to let the machine knows, okay, these are the things that this programmer wants you to do. So these are the things that you need to do. And these are the list of them. And this repackaged thing is going to ask the machine to do exactly what you have coded. But when we look into scripting itself, it doesn't have this intermediator, right? So which is why I said that if you do not have Microsoft Studio Code, it is all right, because you can actually use Notepad. Now, Notepad itself, we know that, oh, Notepad. It is for texts. All right. So how can I code with a text program or application? So there comes the scripting language. Scripting language, it doesn't need any of the intermediator that helps you to repackage your scripts into something that is understandable by your machine. Then and only then it performs what you want it to perform. In scripting language itself, it has a translator, and the translator is inbuilt on your application that is being executed. So later we are going to look into that, how it actually works in this way. When we look into scripting language itself, the very first history that we come across scripting language is markup language. So how do we call it a markup language? It is because when they found this language itself, they said that I want it to look somewhat like a bookmark. So when you open a book and you flip through the pages, there you see the sticky notes, and then you found it, oh, all right, here comes this content has something that had to be highlighted. So that was the idea of having text. And this text, they decided to actually put it into a form where, okay, if I would like to mention it like a sticky note, so how should I represent it in this markup language? It is by the left and right bracket. All right, so here comes, you see the tag itself with the left and right, the brackets. And these tags, they have their own rules. Just like our language, we have our own wordings for every of the different language. In hypertext markup language itself, they call it HTML. So in short, or in abbreviation itself. And they decided to use everything in lowercase. So you will not see any of the uppercase in text. All right, you would always see lowercase, and you would see that in the text itself, there are two types of text. One is the paired text. So you can actually encapsulate something here. You can have the content over here between the opening and the closing. So how do I tell the application that this is the start and this is the end? So they decided to pair it. The opening tag is without the slash. The closing tag is with the slash. So this we call paired tags. All right, they comes in pairs. Now, how about individual tags? So when we come to individual tags itself, actually it doesn't have a closing tag itself. It is actually standalone by itself. So tags like this, we call it individual tags. And image, for example, if you want to embed an image in your in the web or in that mobile device itself, you can actually use img, and this is, it means source. So where does the image comes from? Another thing that is very important when we come into scripting is you have to know the file path. So file path is very important over here because you need to import the different items by yourself into the script itself, so that you can let it know that, okay, this image, you can find it from here. So that kind of thing. So later we'll look into these important things as well. So when we look into a HTML file, you can see it looks like something like this. So just now, Ms. Lee had mentioned that you can actually download the files, the materials for today, in the MS Teams files section. So I've put the PowerPoint slides over there. And I've also put all the sample codes for all the exercises today as something that you can refer to. Okay, now just in case that some of us are going very fast, so we can actually look into the scripts right away from the samples that I have delivered there. Now, looking into HTML itself, not just HTML, every coding or every development itself, it has some sort of structure. Just like our DNA, we have some sort of structure itself. This DNA means what? This line of DNA means what? So in our coding as well, in our scripting as well, we have a predefined structure itself. In HTML file, we're going to look into head and body. So expect to look something like this in the React.js later as well. When we look into this HTML file itself, all right, or some of us might know it as website, all right, or a web page itself. So when we look into this web page, it has a structure of head and also body. So the content is here is where the head is, and the rest of the web page is body. Now, the head might contain data of data. So some of us might come across these big words called meta. It is actually just data of this website itself. Okay, what defines this website, and also it contains a title. So if we are to visit some of the websites or some of the web pages, you would realize that you have something over here which is actually scripted in the title itself. Now, body, it determines all the contents over here in the web page or website. It contains text, it contains images, it contains medias. So here is the HTML that we might come across, HTML text that we might come across that is common for us to actually look into. Now, when I mention head, so head is determined by the head tag. Okay, it's a paired tag. If we are going to look into title, we are going to look into the paired tags of title. And when we're looking into body, so how we can mention a body inside a HTML file, then we can actually put it inside body tags. All right. Now, inside body itself, you can have a lot of different texts. All right, and the text can be categorized as header, and header you have H1 until H6. All right. Then you can have paragraph, which is normal sized text, and then you can have embedding of image. So image source. Just now we have glanced through of the image itself. Now, let us look into the upgraded version of HTML, because in the older days, HTML might have some limitation of interaction. So nowadays, they upgraded it a little bit, which they call it as HTML5. But take note, when we use HTML5 tags, some of it might not work as we expected it to be. Just like some of the website, it will have a reminder for you to tell you that, okay, this is a reminder that to view this website the best, you should view it in Firefox, in Google Chrome. All right, so that kind of reminders actually tells you about this. They might use mostly on HTML5, and HTML5 is not supported by some of the browsers. So when we look into HTML5 itself, we contain something that is more interactive, that is more to our own convenience of usage as well. When we look into some of these words, we know that, okay, these are the things that we might need on our web pages, like navigation. So navigation is by the text of nav, and you have footers. Footers is like you have a page, and then at the bottom there you have your signature or your copyright mentioned over there. This is in HTML5 as well. Now you can highlight text. So how do we actually highlight the text? We can actually put put the text tags itself, the mark text. All right, put your fonts or your text or your paragraph between this tag itself. Now the font style. So we can have font color. All right, we can mark this text, all right, to be in which color. So we can put the font over there, font tag over there. So later we'll come across this. Form, we can actually create a form, right, for the users to interact with your page itself. Okay, it's things like contact us, things like feedback. So there goes the form, and form is under HTML5 as well. Now, inputs. When you have form, you have inputs. So without further ado, all right, we can actually go to our exercise. Now, talking is easy, but putting it into practice is actually the real important, the main gist over here, which is we want to actually put this into practical itself. So we are going to create 2 web pages. All right, and this will reside in our computer itself, in our laptop itself. So how many of us have our Visual Studio Code ready? If you have, you can actually open your Visual Studio Code. Okay, if any of us, you do not have your Visual Studio Code itself, don't worry, you can just open up the notepad. So let me just open up the notepad from here. Where is it? Okay. So you can do this as well. All right. Okay, some of us might have asked in the chat itself, Notepad can be used for HTML. Yes, Notepad can be used for HTML. And some of us are unable to open the zip file. Okay, most of us have installed. How many of us have a problem with opening the zip file again? Maybe I can. Okay, just in case it is unable to be opened, we will just go through everything over here. Okay, if you have already opened your Notepad or your Visual Studio Code, just now I've talked about file path is very important. So in programming language itself, you would not have to even worry about this, because in programming language, you can just open an environment, an application or a software that allows you to program in Java, in C++, in any of the programming language, the Pythons or anything. So you can just use that environment, or you can just use that application, and that application determines where your files are. Then that's it. You do not need to mention where should I store my file, where should this file goes through, because that application itself will help you to package everything and give it back to you. It is like a present thing. So here comes these 2 presents. When you have a present for the web-based or the markup language itself, okay, the scripting itself, you deliver it all by yourself. You don't give to someone. You don't give to someone to actually help you to wrap it and then put the ribbons on it and then give it back to you, or send it to the receiver for you. So this is for markup language or scripting. But when we come to the coding or programming language, you actually have someone to take your present, wrap it, put the ribbon on it, and even send it for you, and even send the gift for you to the recipient. So this is the very difference between the markup language or the scripting and also coding itself. So when we mention about coding, a little bit of difference in terms of handling for both of them. All right, so you can even call it as markup language is very manual. All right, and programming language is like very automatic, because the software actually help you to check All right, so when we look into, just to make it easy, I will put a new folder in the desktop itself. So I name it as KLESF. And if we are doing this manually, not using the Visual Studio Code, okay, we might have this folder itself in our desktop. So how do we see the file path? It is by clicking on here. So when you have your folder over here, you can actually click it. Okay, when you click it, you will see that the file path is here. So you will always be able to find your file path, or you will always be able to find the directory, all right, where your files are. Okay, so that you can actually easier copy and paste that file path into your scripting file later. So at here, you might want to create your HTML file. So if those of us, we are on Notepad, you can just open your Notepad. If those of us, we are on Studio Code itself, you might need to go to File and Open Folder. Okay, Open Folder, you might want to find back, okay, the file path that you have just now, okay, which is on the desktop itself. You can copy the file path and put it here, or you can just choose it on your this PC file path over here. So make sure you choose Open Folder in your Visual Studio Code itself, because you just want to open the folder itself, okay, for this moment. All right, you just want to open the folder itself. And you are going to repeat this step for React Native as well later. So this one is quite an important step for you to remember. So once you have chosen the folder, okay, click the select folder. Microsoft Visual Studio Code will actually open that folder for you. So it is blank because it is an empty folder. But this doesn't apply for the Notepad, all right? For the Notepad itself, you do not need to actually emphasize this because you're just going to script it. All right. Okay. Okay, some of us have been able to open the zip file already. You can actually go, some of us, we might not know where the zip file is. Okay, the zip file is in the, okay, the session 1 of your MS Teams, right? Session 1, 30th October. Actually, it has 2 different columns. One is posts, where you have all the posts, you can post your comments over there. And another one is files. So when you click on the column or the menu of files over there, you will see a list of files. There are 2 files. One is today's PowerPoint, and then another one are the zip files. All right, or one zip file, but the one zip file actually contains all the exercises over there. So if we are actually over here already, now in Visual Studio Code itself, it allows you to create new file, and it allows you to create new folder right in Visual Studio Code. All right. So if we are, okay, I switch back to the zip file. All right, the zip file, you can actually extract all using your Windows Explorer. Okay, so that would be easier. If you actually extract all here, right? If you right-click the zip file, you download the zip file, you right-click the zip file, and then you choose extract all here, then it will actually extract all the different folders for you. Okay, and then you will actually get exercise 1, exercise 2, and exercise 3, and exercise 4. So this session itself, we're going through 4 exercises. Hands-on exercise. That hopefully you can actually get the gist of what are actually tagging or scripting language means. Now, when we look back into the Visual Studio Code, so just now we say that we want to create 2 web page, right? So 2 web page, it means we want to create 2 HTML files. All right. So when we visit some of the websites, we might actually notice this, okay, when we click into the www dot something, and then at the very end of it, you might realize that you come across this file before, index.html. So people normally name their homepage as index.html. Someone asked that, do I need to download Node.js? Okay, you don't need to download it now because later we are going to look into that. So index.html itself, we'll put this as our homepage. So after clicking the new file, okay, you will see an entry over here. Just put index.html. For those who are using Notepad, you don't have to do anything first. All right, but you need to look into how you are going to do this in Visual Studio Code. All right, so after index.html, you just press enter. So there goes your new file, index.html. And another file, I would call it as contact.html, okay, which I would actually create another new file. So this new file, I will name it as contact.html. So once you click on the new file, and then you type the file name, which is very important over here, is .html. You don't want to save anything other than .html. So you need to put the extension of the file as well. So once you have named it, you can actually just press enter. Then you will have the file automatically open at this site, at this pane of Visual Studio Code. Okay, now when we look into Notepad itself, okay, we haven't done anything over here. If you would like to save this file as index.html or contact.html, so these are the ones that I am telling for the Notepad here. For ones who are using Notepad, so you just click on File, Save As. All right, so this one is very important. So I need all of us to actually follow very strictly. Now go to, when you click Save As, you will have where the file path that you need to choose to save your file as well. So save it inside the new folder that you have created. Okay, whereas for my case is KLESF. All right, when I click into that folder, it will go straight into that file path. Okay, so at this point, it is good to go, but not yet. Look into the save as type. All right, don't let it be .txt. Select all files. All right, this is the second step that you need to go through. This is for Notepad, yeah? So in the Save As dialog box, all right, go to the file path where you want to save it. And the second step is go to Save As type, select all files. Okay. Why I have these two files over here? Because I save it in my Visual Studio Code. So your Visual Studio Code is able to create the new files over there. Now, don't worry because you don't have it yet. So you should actually create it just like how you create it in Visual Studio Code as well. So in Visual Studio Code, you need to name your file and also the extension, right? So in Notepad as well, after you choose Save As Type as all files, you would need to type in the file name and also the extension. So right after you do this, you can click on Save. All right, so this is for Notepad. So for those who are using Notepad, you can use this. And remember this very, if you choose text if you let it be text document or .txt, it will actually save this file as .txt in the end. No matter how you name index.html, in the end, when you look into your folder itself, it will become index.html.txt. So we do not want that. We want it to be index.html only. We want it to be in HTML file. So we need to choose all files over here. All right. So this is for Notepad itself. And for Notepad itself, you would experience some of the manual way of creating your scripts. So let us look into here. No. Okay, let us look into our index.html. This is our home page. So just now we say that HTML file should be having the HTML tag, right? So it should be determined by, so how do the browser or how do the application or the software knows that this is a HTML file? It is by this HTML tag. So everything that we want to declare as the HTML website itself, it should be inside the HTML tag. So this tag is going to be the alpha and omega, the beginning and the end. So it has to be the opening and it has to be the closing. All right. It cannot be stopped somewhere in the middle part of your document itself. So make sure for Visual Studio Code, you will see this. So once you put the left angled bracket, you will see the suggestion over here, which is when you click it, it will automatically type for you. But for Notepad, it will be very manual. You need to type this your own. You need to put HTML and then you need to put /HTML tag, right, in order for you to actually close the HTML. So this is the difference. And when you want to put something else over here, you need to put the tab, all right, so that you can indent it to the right a little bit, so that you know that, oh, this is a different section. Right, but inside Visual Studio Code itself, it will be different because when you press enter after a tag, it will actually indent for you. So this will be what you have a difference over here when you use Notepad and when you use Visual Studio Code. All right, so when we look into just now, we say that a HTML document have two parts, right? Head and body. So this is where we want to have our different parts of our HTML file as well. We need to declare the different parts of our HTML file. So we will declare it first because we want to know that this is our structure and this is going to be what it looks like in our HTML file later. So we want to determine the structure first. We want to build some sort of the shield first. All right, then layer by layer, we want to construct what is inside. So from the outside, we are constructing into the very core, into the very detail. So we put a big picture first, then and only then you want to put the different details inside. Just like how you learn art, right? When you draw a certain sketch, you would like to draw the outline first, then and only then you want to focus on all the details. So when we look into our file now, we know that this is actually mentioning about the head content, right? And this is actually mentioning about the body content, right? So at this point of time, we want to actually put a title, all right, into the head itself. We want something to be shown in our web page itself to actually look into when people click at your website, they know that, oh, it's your website. So what is the title that we want to have? Okay, it has to be inside the title tag itself. So everything that is inside here, all right, will be your title that comes on the top of your website itself. So for my case, I would want to name it as my initial web page. So everything that you've put there, it will be appearing on your web page itself. Now, when we look into body, all right, we might want to have one big title at the very top, okay, saying that this is the home page. So just now we have learned about H1 header. We can have header in our the body content itself. So header have have a closing tag as well. So it is a paired tag. So everything that happens between the opening and the closing tag, they are the header. So this one I will name it as homepage. All right. So because I just want everyone to know that, okay, when they open this web page itself, it is the homepage of this website. And on top of that, since I'm creating two pages or two HTML file, I want a navigation bar to actually allow the user to navigate from home page to the other page. So what I would like to do is that I would like to have my navigation. So just now we have learned about navigation, right? We will put the opening tag and closing tag of navigation first. So in order for us to see better, okay, we would like to put it, we want to enter and then put it like in rows rather than in columns. All right. For something that is short like the title, we can actually put it in column. So your title is your title opening tag is same row as the title closing tag. But the other tags, there are a lot of texts inside. So I would prefer to put it to another row. So how do we actually link to another page? All right, we call it as anchor. So A in short for anchor. So it actually means anchor itself. But in HTML markup language, A, all right. So it has a horizontal reference, okay, href. So the anchor is referring to something. So when we say that it is referring to something, it shall actually put this anchor into a reference, right? So when someone is going to click it, it is going to reference to whichever that is being referenced over here. So how do we reference it? We have to put the double quote. And here comes the very important gist of file path. So remember that we have something called file path over here. Okay. So we want to create this navigation bar to link it back to the home page and be able to link it to the contact page. And from the contact page, it is going to be able to link it to the home page as well. So both of the pages have the link, okay, to reference each other. Yep, it means horizontal reference, all right, for href. So when we look into this file path itself, it actually means you can refer, you can href to this file path. So everyone, you can go back to your folder, all right, and then copy this file path itself, and then put it into the href, all right, which should be embraced by the double quotes. All right, make sure you have the double quotes that embrace this file path that you have. And this file path, after you copy, actually you have an opposite slash. Okay, so you do not want to have this slash. A file path is determined by this slash instead. Okay, so change the inverted slashes into the slash. So this one is very important for your browser to understand that you are actually referencing to a file path, because the inverted slashes will mean something else in HTML markup language itself. All right. So up to here, we are actually referencing to the folder only. All right. We are not referencing to the file yet. So in order for us to refer to the file, we need to add another slash over here. Okay. If we are going to, let's say we are going to redirect, or we are going to refer to the home page, then our home page is what? Index.html, right? So you can actually put the index.html right after the folder, okay, with a slash, yeah. So this is how you're going to name your file path itself. It is very important for programming itself. It is very important for your scripting as well. So when it comes to React Native later, we are going to go through this over and over again. The folders, the file path. Okay, we have one that says that I have opened the zip file, but Visual Studio didn't show the zip file. Even I extracted all of them. You need to make sure that you selected the correct file path to actually show the folders. So you need to select the correct folders. Right. But at the meantime, do not worry about the zip files first. You can actually create the one over here. The zip files is just in case, just as backup, you miss some of it, okay? You didn't type some of it and then you want to refer back. So there comes the zip files. You can open the zip files with your notepad as well. You do not need to open everything in your Visual Studio Code and then mess up with which index file that I'm in now, which contact HTML file that I'm in now. So you may want to open the zip file later. So as long as you are following this, then you're good to go. So when we look into, when we close this, all right, when we close this anchor tag itself, all right, it will, the Visual Studio Code will be very conveniently automatically adding the closing anchor tag for you. So for the ones who are using the notepad, all right, you will need to, is it a blank notepad in, yes, what should the index.html file contain? It should contain something like this. Okay. It should contain something like this. So you should actually have these in the, you are actually working this on the notepad itself. So if you're working on a notepad, you are actually working the same scripts over here. So if we have, okay, you have this over here in the Visual Studio Code, you should have this in your notepad as well. All right, so you should be typing all this. So for the ones who are using Notepad, you have to actually type it manually. All right, so for the ones who are using the Visual Studio Code, you can actually have the automatic or automation of insertion by the Visual Studio Code itself. So when we have the anchor itself, we have to have something for display, right? We cannot just put an anchor and then there's nothing for it to refer to or to display. So how do we name this? We name this as home. So how will a normal website name it, or how will you prefer it to be named? You can actually put home, you can actually put home page, you can actually put top, okay, whichever that you think that is that you actually prefer to put it into. So after doing this, you can actually copy and paste. All right, now copy and paste is a very good idea. Now in the notepad as well, you can actually type this. All right. So when you have this, you can actually copy and paste here over to the next line. Why I say copy and paste? Because most of the things are similar, except for the fact that now you are having this second reference to contact.html. So I would like to name it as contact as well. Contact. Contact might not be understandable for some of the user. Maybe contact us. Okay, that would be better. So when we have done this, right, we're expecting that we have a navigation bar that will enable us to navigate between the two pages, right? One is index.html, another one is the contact.html. So the file path I copied using the inverted slash instead of the normal slash. So yes, when you copy a file path, it will be automatically the inverted slash. So you need to change all the slash into this slash itself, this normal slash. Okay, this normal slash that you have, so that you can tell the web browser that you are referring to an address here, a file path here. All right. So when we look into here, okay, it seems nice now, all right, that we have the navigation bar already. After the navigation bar, okay, this is still on the body. So we are still on the content of our web page. We have not actually go to the form yet. So your contact.html is still empty. So for those who are on Notepad itself, you would need to have this line, all right, be written into your Notepad. So this line. So see the difference between Notepad and also Visual Studio Code itself. When you enter, you do not have the indentation anymore. All right, you need to keep on using the tab. So when we look into the different suggestions we have on our slides just now, we can have some text, right? So let us put some text. Okay, so now I might not want to use a header, because header would be a big, large text. I might want to use a normal kind of text size or font size. So I would just use P, which means paragraph. So what I would like to put here is this is the homepage for exercise 2 of KLESF session 1. All right, so if you have seen this, if you are seeing this pattern over here, you are seeing that whichever that you are writing in between of the opening and the closing tag, it means that this tag actually rule how the content between it should appear in your file. So take for example the H1, you are actually putting a rule over there. The home page, it should appear as header number 1. For this text that is between the P opening tag and P closing tag, you are determining that these texts should appear in the website determined by the rule of the web browser for paragraph. So you can actually see this kind of pattern over here, and hopefully you understand that at the end of the day, programming, scripting is a little bit easy for you to actually grasp, because it has a very straightforward and it has a very consistent rule over there, which is whatever that you put into it will actually appear in your file itself. Okay, so the computer is not that genius as we think of. It actually executes everything just like how we feed it. All right, so when we look into paragraph itself, maybe now we would like to try something even more, which is maybe I want to insert image, all right, img. Just now we look into this individual tag, right? So when we put img, we need to put the source, all right, source, okay. We need to put the source, which is in our folder itself. So some of us, if we have already extracted the folders or the zip files, okay, you might find the image one in one of the folder, and you can copy it into your new folder that you have created. In this folder that is similar with index and also contact.html that you have created. But some of us, if we have not actually have any extraction of the zip file, or if we have problem with downloading a zip file, you can actually just put any image into your folder over here. Okay, so for me, I will just find back the image that I have, which is image 1. Okay, I will just copy the image, or some of us, we might want to download the image as well. If you want to download the image from any of the Google platform or Google Chrome, any of the IE, Internet Explorer, you can just download it, and for convenience purpose, you can just rename the image as image 1. All right, so you have to put it inside that folder as well, so that, oh, my battery is running low. Okay. Okay. Now, once you have had an image, all right, in your folder itself, which is together with the index and contacts, okay, once you rename it as image 1, okay, one thing that you need to actually check, okay, which is the extension of that file itself. Some of us, we might have enabled the extension to be viewed over here. Some of us might not. So how do we check what is the extension of this file? Go right click on that file, go to properties. When we go to properties, we will see that the extension of this file is here. Okay, so if it is .png, then it is .png. When it is .tif, then sometimes it might be .tiff, it might be .tif. So we need to look for the extension itself. JPEG will have different extension as well. Some of them, they are .jpeg. Some of them, they are .jpg. Some of them, they are .jpg upper text or uppercase. So you would need to look into the form of the extension itself, which is very important for us to look into as well if we are embedding external files or media. So right click the file, look into properties, and then you can see the extension of the file itself. So once you've made sure that this file is the extension of this file, you can actually proceed. Do you have the website for the image? The website for the image, not really. You can actually find any image, just any image. It's okay. Any image you download from anywhere. Okay, it's all right. Whichever image that you have will be good, because you're not. Not going to force you to show your website later, but so you can actually just choose any image that you have. All right. So once you have ensure the file path itself, so since it is the same folder path, right? So I'm going to copy this and paste here. So I'm not going to copy over again at here, at this folder, because when I copy from this folder, you will know that these are inverted slashes, right? You don't have to go through the hassle of changing the inverted slashes into the normal slash again. So you might want to copy from here. So when we copy from here, we know that, okay, here we need to indicate the file that we are referring to. So just now I have my file as .jpg. Right? If you have renamed it to image1, then that's easier. You can actually put it as image1.jpg itself. So when we look through, okay, your image, it doesn't have to have any of the ending tag. So your image can be just as this case, you can just leave it as it is, or you can actually just determine what is the width and height. So it is determined by pixels. If we put the width as 600, so which means it is 600 pixel px, all right, times the height equals to, if I put it as 500, then it is 500 pixel. So which is why I said that any image will do. So it doesn't actually affect that much. You can actually resize it. All right, you can actually have any image and then you can resize it. And then you can have it appear on your page itself. So when we come across here, we know that, okay, we have almost tried most of the tags for non-form kind of website. So later in the contact.html, we are going to look into forms. So in footer itself, I always like to put footer in the website itself, right? In the footer section, we can always have a credit to the author. So the author, I would put into a normal text, all right, or rights reserved. You, all right, any of the one that you would like to mention. Some of us, we might want to put a copyright symbol over there. So if you would like to put copyright symbol, very easy. You just put the N copy. Okay. If you put it, the N copy itself, it will actually be shown in the Visual Studio Code as a suggestion for us to put in. So this N copy, semicolon, all right, it actually depicts that it is a C copyright symbol. What do red words in Visual Studio Code means? It might mean a little bit of error. Does either of those tags matter? Other of which tags? Now you can choose to save when you have done this. Okay, you can choose to save all, so that you can save both of the files together. What about the doc type? Okay, some of us, we might be wondering, okay, some of the HTML files, they have these, right? Doc type HTML. Something like this, right? But I normally don't put it in this way, whereby I don't normally put this doc type over here. Is it this? No. Yeah, I normally it is not about the pixels for the image. What might cause the body to have an error? If you have not opened the body before it might have an error. So if we have, let's say, a oh, it doesn't have a, okay, because before this, even the navigation that I have has some error over here. If the body have error, it might be something that comes along with this. Maybe we don't have a closing A or A, closing navigation itself, or we don't have the closing P itself. So it detects that there are something that is missing in the body over here, in the body content over here. So you might want to look into that. So if you would like to comment, all right, if you would like to comment, you can put a // Okay. So some of us might want to put comments. You can put a // and you can comment over there. Now, when we look into the pixels again, the pixels are determined by width and also height. So you can actually put the pixel, maybe some of us, we want to put it as 1080 times 720. So whichever that you prefer. But I've put here a 600 times 500. So it is with the normal width and also height that we have come across, which actually literally means that the width and the height of that image itself should be 600 to 500 pixels only. The maximum value for width and height, what is the use of them? Now, the maximum value, I don't think that there is maximum value that is determined, but you might not want to put too max in a sense that you want the content to be in your web browser itself or in the user's web browser itself. Later we'll look into that, why we do not want to set it too high, all right? Because it will actually move out of the place. Okay, someone actually commented that you can actually put your comment over here. Oh, the / is different. Okay. This is your comment. All right. Sorry, I've just used the React Native. / is not a naming thing, but it is a comment in React Native JS. Sorry. So in the comments, all right, comment for HTML is using this way. You put a left angle bracket and then exclamation mark, and then you put a -- then you will have your comment in between. Okay, and you will have this -- right angle bracket. It must be 4 dashes in total. So 2 dashes in the opening and then 2 dashes in the closing. Yes. What's the comment for? Okay, if you want to say that, okay, this part is body. Okay, since we say commenting, okay, this part is body. Okay, since we talk about commenting, right? Let us put some commenting over here and see what does this actually means. This part is head. Okay, let's say I just want to comment that okay, this part is head and then this part is body. Following part. All right, let us look into comments as well. Okay. So this is just for the homepage, right? Let us move into contact.html. Now we want to create something like a form, right? Just now we have looked into something like a form, but we want to have some similar things as well. So we want to copy all this. We want to copy the whole index.html and then put it into our contact.html to reserve to retain some of the things to be in contact.html as well. So what we want to be different is, okay, now let us look into this. When we go to contactus.html, we want to name our web page differently, right? So we want to show that this web page is for contacting us. So contact. I will want to change the title. I will want to let the user know that, okay, you are now not on the home page. You are now in the contact page. All right. So in the body itself, okay, similarly, I want to change this. I do not want it to appear as homepage. I want it to appear as contact us. Just now, I named the navigation bar as contact us. So I will just put the contact us as the main title. So you have the navigation bar of home, contact us. So this remains because I want the navigation bar to appear in index.html and also in contact.html. Yes, copy the whole thing and put into contact.html. So what happens to Notepad? Notepad, right? You will need to repeat the same step. Okay, new, and then okay, this is after you have saved this as index.html. Yeah. So new, you have to save it as index.html. For my side, I don't have to save it because I have that file already. So save this as contact.html, and then you have to paste the whole thing. All right, just change accordingly. The title you want to change to contact. All right, the header you want to change it to contact us. The navigation you want to remain. Okay, so here comes the content. This content itself, I might not want to have any picture anymore because I want to have a form. So just now we say that we can have form in HTML5. All right. So when we are here, we want to have form. Oh, then I want to have input, right? Because I want to have someone who wants to contact me. Then I might want to say that, okay, I can have something like this as well. Input. Input. Oh, sorry. Input, you do not need to actually have the closing. So you just need to have the input itself, right? And you have to determine what kind of input here. So let's say I want to put 2 inputs. Okay. But having just 2 input without any label, it doesn't make sense, right? So I want to have a label over here to label what kind of input it is, this one is, and I want to have another label to label what kind of input this is. So in the label itself, let's say we go for the minimal. We just want to get the email of the person who would like to contact me. So email as the label. In HTML5, you can actually determine more attributes, which means, yes, I want to tell the web browser that this is a label, but I want to tell the web browser that this is the label for what as well. So I can actually put label for email, so that later I can actually reference to it. So if you see the pattern over here, any of the things that we put inside a tag itself, other than the original wording for that language, you might want to put inside a double quote. Right, so anything that determines further of what we want this script to be, it should be inside the double quote. All right, so input itself. Now there comes the input. Input type. Okay, what type of input that you want the user to have? So if we are to actually put get the input of email, right? So we can actually put email as input type. So let's take a note at this. Okay, why the email is in red? What is it missing again? Think about the pattern of the text. Okay, yes. Wow, you all are following very well. So it is missing an equal sign. So you have seen that pattern inside this tagging language already. So you can actually follow it very closely when it comes to React Native later. Now, when we look into input type as email, why we want to put it as email later, we'll see the output. Okay, and if label is for email and we want to name this input as email itself, or we want to set an ID for it, we want to set an identification for this input so that we can actually refer or take the content of this input, then you can actually put ID equals to email. So you can actually reference it later. So whichever that the user type inside this input, it will be identified as email. Right. So if you name it as E1, then it will be identified as E1, whichever content that the user actually input later. Now I want to introduce another one, which is a little bit different from what we have learned, which is BR. Okay, BR is break, which means it goes to the next line. So we have the label and the input at the first line, and then now I put a break over here, which means the next label and input will be at the second line or second row. All right, so another label, if contact me, okay, maybe this person, I allow this person to drop a message. So a message from the user. Okay, so as usual, we would like to label this. Okay, we would like to say that this label is for, okay, message. Now another one will be the input. Now this input, if it is a message, it might not be really input, but we might want to give a text area. If we put input type equals to text, it is a one line kind of input. But if we put text area, then it is different. We have a multiple lines. If we put text area, we have to have opening text area and closing text area. So this one is a little bit different. Okay. Now I see a lot of equals over there. How about handphone number? Okay, we won't look into that first. What I need all of us to know is just the basic, all right? So that when we talk about the React Native, when we talk about the further scripting language, okay, which we will use in React Native later, we all will not be in a daze. Okay, what does this stand for? That kind of thing. So today we will just understand the basic ones first. So when we look into text area, you know that it is for more than one row of texts. So you can actually determine how many rows that you want it to have. Okay, again, the equal sign. Okay, if we are to determine 80 rows, let's say, oh, okay, don't be too many, 10 rows, and how many columns we want to determine to 30. Another time we will want to have BR. Now, form has to have a button, right? At least a submit button. So if we are to put input type over here equals to submit, then you will have a submit button. Wow, someone asked a very technical term over here. Is it a variable name? Yes, you can call it as a variable name. To be exact, actually, I name that item. I name that that input itself. All right, I give a name or I give an identity to that input, because the computer itself, it doesn't have anything at all. We have to feed it with the information. So at first, it will not know actually what is this for. All right, not until we put it as, oh, this is input, and then the type is email. And later you will see why we want to put it as email instead of text. And then we want to name it because the computer doesn't know this input type is actually named email. And then the next input type called email is named as email 2. So you might actually collect 2 emails from the same user. So how do the computer or the web browser actually recognize that it is the first email and the second email? It actually depends on how we name it, or how we actually identify, put the identification to the input type itself. So at here, okay, at this point, we have had all the basic that we have. Okay, let's save all. For the notepad itself, okay, let's save this as contact.html. So once you have saved it, okay, like what I've said, it is very different from programming language, because programming language, you don't get to code and then you open that application that you have coded right away, because you need to wait for it to be wrapped, to be repackaged, and then send it to the operating system to know that, okay, this actually works like this. But in scripting itself, you open it right away because it is translated none other than the browser. So open up your index.html with any of the browser that you have, okay, not any of the browser, because HTML5 is not supported by Internet Explorer. So if you open it with Internet Explorer, it might appear a little bit different. So if you have Google Chrome, open it with Google Chrome. If you have Firefox, open it with Firefox. All right, that would be a better choice. So when you have your browser itself, okay, when you have your index.html on the browser itself, it might look like this. Actually, we are looking forward into just the very beginning of tagging itself, the very beginning of the front end of kind of application. So which is why you might think that this doesn't look good. Actually, it doesn't look as what I want it to be. It's not sophisticated, so that kind of thing. So next we will look into how to improve this. So when you click on the navigation, so you will see the navigation itself, it will go to contact us. So when we look back into home itself, okay, this is 600 times 500. So whichever image that you have, okay, it should be 600 times 500 by now. All right. If you have put it into this pixel itself, 600 times 500. Okay, if the picture can't be seen, all right, maybe the picture is not inside the folder that you're referring to, or maybe the naming itself. Okay. So the extension of that picture itself is very important also. So there is a difference between JPEG and also JPG. So you need to make sure the extension of the picture as well. Two input box align. So now we are looking into homepage is not bold and big text. Okay, so do we have header? Do we have H1? So your H1 is very important. H1 and also the closing tag of H1. Okay. So actually this determines the kind of big and bolded text, all right, that you can have. So if you have H1, you will have the maximum size. If you have H6, all right, it will be a smaller size of this size, but it will be bigger than the normal paragraph text that you have. All right. So when we talk about the appearance, all right, how do we align? How do we have alignments? How do we actually format these things to look nicer? So we come into the second session. Okay. So if we are going to look into the time, actually we are actually way back on the schedule itself. We are just in the second part, okay, before the second exercise that we have. So I might want to go through this a little bit faster. So in HTML itself, we know that it has never intended to go for the appearance itself. All right, it just contains text. Okay, formatting itself is very limited. We look into text like fonts, all right, and color attributes to actually put the different colors into it. But the problem is when you have all these different texts and you have to format all the different text with colors, it will become a very long and wide kind of codes that you can have in your HTML file itself, where you will go crazy when you revisit the scripts. All right. So One thing to actually help with this is that W3 Consortium, they actually developed something like cascading style sheets. So some of us might know CSS. Now, why do we introduce CSS over here? Because in React Native itself, you will need to, at one point, use CSS as well in styling your application. So styling and also the front end of your React Native is very, very, very similar with web application development, which is why I am linking both of this, and which is why I am actually I rather you understand this basics first before we jump right into the React.js itself. Now, when we look into cascading style sheets, you can actually embed CSS scripts, you can actually embed CSS scripts right into your HTML file by creating the style tags. All right, so whatever CSS scripts that you have, just make sure that it is in the style tags. And where do we place these style tags? It is within the head itself. So which is why at first we need to understand, okay, why we have the head and why we have the body. So CSS is supposed to be in the head. And how do we actually put CSS? Now, it is a little bit different because CSS, it doesn't use the text, but it uses the content of the text. So why do we call it styling? Because it simply really formats the style of your HTML file by going through the different tags of your HTML file. For this example, so we have a different selection of styles. We want to select body. Then we can actually style body itself. So how CSS works is that it takes the tag content, all right, body, which is the tag, the body tag itself, it is referring to body tag, and then it will say that, okay, the color of the contents for body will be black. So for CSS, this will always be the case. All right, this actually can style at one point our HTML file itself. Now, when it actually selects P, all right, it will actually select the whole P tag for every P tag that we have in HTML file itself. When we say that text align, now we can actually align the text in center, to left, to the right, and justify. So using CSS itself, you can actually, for one time, you can format the whole document itself rather than going through all the different tags and then goes to text align equals to quote and unquote center, rather than goes into the text and then align equals to justify. So you don't need to do that. You just need to declare it once. All right, you just need to write it once and then say that, okay, P color equals to black, and then look into here. Now, the justification of attributes, just now we have the attribute name and then equals to something that is within quote and unquote. All right, so here in CSS itself, you have the attribute name, you use double colon now, and you do not have any of the quote and unquote. You have the black or the attribute itself. After that, you close it with a semicolon. So with each attribute, you can have just one attribute, but you need to close it somehow with a semicolon. And one thing that you need to take note is that here now is not using a left and right angled bracket for the tag. And the tag itself is determined by what is in these curly braces. So all the attributes sits in curly braces. So now we are in a different rule over here. For CSS, this rule has to be applied. All right, it is like it is a general common rule for CSS language itself. So What if we want to determine a lot of text, just like H1, H2, we want to have all the headers in color red. So we determine it in this way. We can just put a comma, a comma, a comma for all the different texts that we would like to style. Now, this is selector method. If we are going for class selector method, we actually put into different categorization. So that is why we call it class. Now, when we look into p.write, all right, we are actually looking into paragraph in the categorization of adjusting to write. All right, so when we actually refer it in our HTML body, we actually refer it as the tag of paragraph with the class of write. So this is declared in the style, remember? And this one is written in the HTML body when we want to refer to write, which means this content is going to be aligned to the right. And when we actually use categorization of center, we declare that this p.center equals to text alignment to be in center. Then we are saying that if we use p class center, then whichever content that we have in here is center aligned. So this is the two different kind of CSS that we want to look into in our document itself. So we have another exercise itself, but now it's 4:44. So one thing that I would like all of us to do is that, okay, before we move into the exercise itself, okay, we will look into the exercise tomorrow. We will look into the exercise scriptings tomorrow. Okay, have already, my message does not have an input box. Make sure the text area is closed. Why my image can be seen when I open in Microsoft Edge, but cannot be seen in Firefox. Okay. I change the curly braces to text. All right, if you change the curly braces to text, all right, it will not be determined as the CSS. So that is the difference. Now, furthermore than that, okay. So while we are looking into these slides, okay, where does my cursor go again? Okay, yes, here's my cursor. Now, before we look into the exercise itself, I would like us to look into downloading this. Okay. Now, every one of us, we want to visit this page. Okay, I copy this on the conversation itself. Okay. Now, if you go to this page, you will find that you will be directed into Node.js.org, the download page. So in the download page itself, go to the Windows installer for those who are having Windows machine. Okay, go to the Mac OS installer for those who are having a Mac machine. All right. Download the Node.js and install it. Okay. Make sure you install it. Choose the LTS version. Yeah. LTS version means the long-term support version. Okay, current version they have means the beta version. So we do not need to try the newest version first. We just need to try the stable version first. So all of us can go to, I have attached the link in the chat box. You can go to this page, okay, and download the installer. Okay, once you are still downloading, all right, I believe that it will take time for you to actually download. Okay, while you are actually downloading, I want all of us to go to try on the CSS code itself. Linux version available. Wow. So some of us are actually using Linux, but I think Linux, you might want to download the source code then. I think it will be having a total different kind of installation. So if we are talking about Linux, then you will have to choose from here, the Linux binaries. Because Linux is free. Wow, so some of us are actually programmers, yeah? So programmer use Linux. Wow, what a okay. I'm so sorry, I'm not the kind of programmer over here. So I'm still using Windows 10 Home, for goodness sake. So if you are a programmer, you might want to look into, yes, Ubuntu is Linux. So you can choose from the Linux binaries. You can actually download from there. Okay, so while downloading, I think it will take some time. So if you have downloaded, okay, so it has actually additional platforms if you are looking for additional platforms itself. Okay, it might have the Linux on Power LE systems and also on System Z. So you might want to look into that. All right, so while you are downloading, we are on our exercise itself. If we want to actually choose to upgrade a little bit on our website itself into something that we can actually format. Okay, so for those who have finished downloading, you can proceed to install, yeah? So we do not have to wait for one another. So you can actually choose to install. Just let me know if you have a problem installing it. So the installation itself, it will pop up for you. Okay, do you want to install this? Do you want to install that? It will actually pop up for you for Python 3 and also Chocolatey. Just install all. Okay, to make sure you have the maximum packages for you to use tomorrow. So when we are talking about CSS itself, right? Just now we say that, okay, style is in the head. So there goes, style is in the head. Okay, I want to stylize this content. I don't want it to look so... It just doesn't look right, right? We just want to have everything aligned nicely and be more colorful. Even the navigation itself, it simply just doesn't look good to us, to our eyes, right? So in order for us to have a better kind of, let's say, okay, we want to have a better kind of header itself. Even our header is not aligned well. I want my header to somewhat, just now I said that I can actually label all the H1, H2, H3. So I want to stylize until H3. And what we need to do is that we want to have a curly brace, right? Curly brace to determine that this is the attribute that I would like to declare. And then I would like to have, okay, so color. Rather than the normal color. Okay, here comes the benefits of using Visual Studio. Yeah, when you put color, it will actually give you quite some of the colors for you to choose. So rather than any of the colors, okay, I like brown. Okay, so I put brown. Okay, all the different attributes, you can close it with a semicolon. Just make sure you close it with a semicolon. All right. I want it to be aligned center. Line. Okay. So there's no quote and unquote anymore. I just need to have a double colon and a semicolon. So the good thing over here is that, okay, every time we save this, every time we save our file and we try to go to our browser and we refresh it, we will see the output right away. So you do not need to, just now we actually scripts a lot, right, before we actually launch the website or the web page itself. So if you want to have a constant check, put one single code and then you can actually just refresh, right? Just press refresh, then you can see the output right away, whether it is doing the right thing or not. Right, no money buy Windows or Mac. Okay, wow. But usually we will have this type of stereotype, really. People will say that programmer really use Linux, right? Instead of the problem of money, actually. Sudo apt install. Sudo apt install. Yes. If I put one color in body and another color in P, what will happen? It will happen just like that. Just like how you actually put it as. So if you are actually, may I see the code? All right. If you are actually putting body and also, okay, let's say I put body. Okay, I determine that the body will have, let's say I would like to have color of brown also. Why do I have this? Okay. And I determine that my P is color of, okay, I might just copy all this. You can even determine a different text alignment. You can have right text, center text alignment in body, and you can have a right text alignment in P. Right? So you can have a red over here, just to see that there will be a difference. There will be a difference. Okay. So what if you didn't determine anything in here? Okay, it will actually follow the body color brown also. All right. And if you have P over here, which is red, everything that is determined, everything that is in P over here in this website should be in red. It should not follow the outliner, all right, of the identification. Why there's no text that written in the header doesn't appear? Why there's no text that written in the header does not? The text that is written in the header doesn't appear. Did you happen to, oh, in head, the text that is in head doesn't appear. It would not appear because now there is a difference between the text over here and the text over here. All right. So in the head itself, okay, it is like in the body. All right, everything that is in this content, okay, like header 1, all right, here is the display of the content. But it doesn't display this as it is, because this one, it will have another justification of what it should display. So the anchor here will not display as it is, because you have this content to be displayed instead of the A itself and equals to whichever it is. So whatever that you have in head, actually it will not display, okay, something like if you are to write here, okay, it will not be displayed in the head container itself. But if you are to put this inside the body, yes, there will be a possibility that this text actually appear in your body. Okay, unintentionally appear in the body. All right, so beware of the non-tagged kind of texts. In your script is lyl contact. Yes, between the title, it doesn't appear. I mean, it did not appear over here. It did not appear over here, is it? So it did not appear over in your case. When we look into the head again, okay, so did you put the title tag over here? The opening and the title tag. Then header is there. So there's two head, yeah? One is header and then another one is head. So head is the part of your document. The header is determining it as a format of a text. So this one, header, like what you have seen in Microsoft Office Word. So header means something that is bigger, like a title. So that one, they name it as header. So this is how you actually format your document itself. So how do we align later when I look into, okay, how many of us have installed successfully your Node.js? You can raise your hands. Installed. So if you have installed, okay, one thing that you need to go into now. So sidetrack a bit, yeah? So if you have installed, you should have this Node.js and Node.js command prompt. All right. So let us go into Node.js command prompt. Okay. If you have your Node.js command prompt itself, okay, it should look like this. It should be going to your user folder. Still installing. So some of us are still installing, some of us has installed. So I will give it a, I'm very sorry, we are going to actually go extend the time. If you are, if you have something to do, you have to go, it's okay, because this session is actually recorded. So you can actually look into the recording later. So some of us, if we need to go, then we can go. But for some of us who can stay, I need some of us to actually stay with me for another 15 minutes then. All right. So while waiting for that, I will just do another 5 minutes. All right. Now let us look into styling. If we would like to center our image, okay, let's say the image, it appears really not great. Okay, so we have this, we can actually declare this. Just now we say that we can actually categorize something, right? So Okay, something called Windows PowerShell is installing Python, etc. on my computer. Is that normal? Yes, it is normal. It will actually install Python into your computer. Okay. So dot center itself, it means class center, right? So anything that I want to use in here later, which I will type class equals to center, will actually use any of the attributes that I have declared over here. So I want the display to be in block, all right? And then because I want my image to be in the center, so I will set the margin left to auto. Excuse me. Then margin right to auto as well. So I'll just enter over here so that we can see it. Right auto. Oh. Okay. And then I want to determine that the width to be 50% because I want to align it in such a way that it's oh, why is it? Because I wanted to actually contain in the middle of the page. Whichever browser or whichever screen size that you have, the image will somehow appear in the middle. So even if you have a 4K monitor, you have an 8K monitor, you have just a HD monitor, the image will still appear in the middle. All right, so if we would like to ensure that, then this will be what we want to do. Okay, I want to have the margin left to be automatically adjusted, the margin right to be automatically adjusted, and then the image size to be 50%. So the browser will adjust itself. All right, the image will be at the center itself, and then it will have the equivalent of margins from left to and from the right as well. So this one is what I would like to have in the image itself. So what happens is, this is for contact, right? Copy this and put it in my index. So where should we copy it? Into the index itself, into the head compartment or container. Okay, it's okay. So which is why I say that you all are different range of programmers. Some of us, we are totally beginner, and some of us, we are having most of the I would say that most of the knowledge already. So some of these might be a little bit of repetitive for you, but some of these are very new to us. So for those who have questions, you may utilize the time to actually ask questions. For those of us who are actually good in this, who are actually having the knowledge in this might be a repetition for you. So save all, so that you can actually save the index.html and also the contact.html. So how do we apply this class inside our image source itself? Now, just now we say that we try to put the different width and height, right? So now we actually don't have to do that. We just need to name the class over here, which class we are using to stylize this image itself. All right, so the class is equals to center. Okay, simply like this. All right, because we have declared that class center will be displaying all the things in block. So by block, it puts your web display by block, and it will actually have a margin left automatically adjusted, margin right automatically adjusted, and a width to be 50%. So when we actually save this, when we actually save all or save, all right, and go over to your browser again, you will see that your home is totally different now. Okay, take a look at your P now. They are all right aligned. Even though the body says the contents should be text align center. Even though the body says the text should be brown. But now there goes your P is still red because we have actually styled the paragraph to be in color red, and also the text alignment is right. All right, and more so, without your width and height over in your image now, okay, you can just simply put a class called center and call the class name in your image itself in order to apply the center attribute itself. Okay, having your image now to be aligned in the center, and it is adjusted according to your screen size. So this screen size itself is 1080 times 720, so it appears in this size, but in your screen it might appear differently. Why my web page doesn't change? Have you saved it? Okay, make sure you save it before you refresh. Is it completely doable to mix different languages together in the same file? Completely doable to open a CSS page. CSS page? Save already, but it didn't change. All right. What if, okay, if you save it, you have the style right here, right? So this is not, if you save it as a different CSS file, yes, you can actually open it inside your HTML file. But if you are having two different languages in one file, you need to determine that this language is from style. It is determined by this. So the web browser actually translated in such a way that when it comes to this tag, it knows that, oh, okay, now in this tag itself, it mentioned that whatever that is following is CSS. Okay, I will read it as CSS using the CSS rules. Okay, oh, okay, now I see that the closing tag of style. So, okay, the later ones are not in CSS language. So I will change my translation, my dictionary into HTML again. So that would be what the browser is doing. Okay, so make sure you save it into the correct file. Okay, not just in the content.html. Okay, save it in your index.html as well. And make sure in your image source, you call the class. Okay, class equals to center. So this is how we are going to refer, all right, from one language to another language. So in your HTML itself, you're still using HTML to refer to CSS language, but in your CSS language itself, you're still using CSS to refer back to the HTML language. So both can understand each other because in CSS itself, you set the class in this way. And then when it comes back to HTML, when it refers to the class, the browser will knowingly actually refer back to CSS because you call the class. All right, then the HTML will actually come to read that, okay, class is called. So I will refer back to the CSS that was written up there and then find where is class center. So when it finds the class center here, it will actually determine what are the attributes declared here. I follow all the steps already, but still can't change. The style can only be placed between head and head. Yes, it will be placed between head and head. Better that way. Because style is, it should be inside. It is like a data within a data. Yeah, so your style should be in the head itself. I follow all the steps already, but still can't change. It's okay. Wait a while. We'll look into the Node.js itself. Now, how is everyone? Have you actually downloaded the Node.js? If have, okay. So this is the next step that you need to do, which is you will need to have this code. Okay, I will copy this code into the okay, let me just paste this over here. So what we are going to do is that we are going to download the environment which is needed to process your React Native. Node.js command prompt. There's no Node.js command prompt. Okay. Then maybe, just maybe. Okay, maybe later you can actually restart your computer and see whether the command prompt actually is available or not. If it is not available, remove remove Node.js and install it again. Make sure to install everything. All right, so try open file location. You should be able to see it. Open file location. Okay. So if you can see it in the open file location, then yes. But if you cannot, then you might need to re-download. All right. So run this command inside the Node.js command prompt. All right. So when you copy it, when you right-click on the Node.js command prompt, it should appear in your command prompt itself. Okay. Once you press enter, yes. Once you press enter, it will take quite some time to install as well. Okay. You will have some warnings, by the way. Okay, you will have some warnings saying that, but they are not errors. Okay, you will see some of these yellow warnings telling you that it is skipping some dependencies or whichsoever. Do not worry, they are not errors. So you can just let it install as what it is. All right. So once you click enter, it will bring you to a lot of this. Okay. So after you press enter, you will have quite some time to wait upon. So let us look back into here. One of us actually saved everything, but it didn't change. Okay, if it didn't change, may I know which browser are you using? Google Chrome, is it? Aoyong Munyu. Nice name. Okay, you are using Google Chrome. You save it and it doesn't change. Okay. MSH works well. Okay. Okay, if you are to close the browser and right-click your index.html and open it again, see whether it actually works. because everything before that actually okay, right? It wondering why it is okay using Chrome but not for Firefox. Maybe some of the elements is not supported by the Firefox version that you have. Just maybe, because the thus far actually, I found that these two browsers are more supportive for HTML5, but not for IE, of course. So you can try to actually open this in Internet Explorer, and you will see that it looks a little bit different. So if you want a greater experience of viewing, you can choose both of these browsers, Chrome or Firefox. Now, Microsoft Edge is getting better, so you can actually try that as well. But I'm still wondering why it doesn't work. Still can't. It doesn't work in the browser that you are using now. Okay, if that is the case, okay, never mind. What I will actually suggest you to do is that, okay, maybe you can, if you can download the zip file, okay, if you can actually extract the zip file into the 4 folders, 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can actually open up exercise 2 and right click the index.html, see whether it can be done. If it can't be done, then I have to find out what is actually the main problem over there. Now, everyone is proceeding with all the different things over here. Okay, if you happen to finish, you can actually let me know. So this is actually the opener of what we face in CSS itself. So some of your questions are very good actually when you ask that, how come I can use 2 different languages in one file? So that is the difference in between programming codes and also scripting as well. So if you are actually using programming code, it doesn't make sense. I keep refreshing, then okay already. Or if you keep refreshing, then it's okay. All right, this is new. Okay, now, okay, this is for Ao Yong's case, yeah. Now, for some of us who have done, okay, you can stay there first. Sorry, a little bit of taking time over here, but I want all of us to set our foundation straight today first. Okay, so that tomorrow we won't have to use this time to actually install all the different packages. Now, when we look into programming languages, it doesn't make sense. It will not make sense because you cannot use Java at the same time use C programming, C++ or C inside Java itself. It will not work. All right, so this is a very, very good question. And in scripting world, it can happen. Because in scripting world, your web browser is going to translate it as such. It contains some kind of dictionaries or libraries, all right, that it has, that these libraries actually contains different rules for different languages, but of course limited for a different level of languages. Like this one, we are actually using CSS and also HTML together. So tomorrow we are going to look into how we are going to incorporate JavaScript in here. So one file, 3 languages. That is what you're going to face inside your React Native application as well. So you are going to use a different language, CSS and also JavaScript in one file itself. And JavaScript itself is very heavily based on tagging. So which is why we want to visit some of the taggings and what is the nature of tagging actually. So one thing that I want you to back home today is that when you use tags, there is a very straightforward rule to it. Opening tag, closing tag. Whatever that is within the opening tag and closing tag, that is inside the determination of the tag of the rule of this tag. So For instance, if we are using the opening tag and closing tag of style, whatever that is inside style, it is determined by the rule of CSS. So whenever the translator actually comes to this tag itself, it knows that, okay, now I have to translate this using CSS language. But when I come out of the ending of style tag, okay, then it comes to the end of head tag. So the translator will know that straight away, okay, this is the end of head section of this HTML file. Then that's it. So this is the straightforward rule that we have in tagging itself. Another straightforward rule is that whichever content that is inside the very last child, which means now you have head, which is the parent of title, which is why you have indentation for you to actually view it better. So when you have head as the parent of title, so title is not head is not the last child yet. So everything that you have in here, the content over here, it is by the ruling of head. It might not be the ultimate output that you see inside your web page itself. It might just be the rule that you set how should the head appear. And now when we look into the very last child, title doesn't have any other text inside, right? So title only contains texts. So this text itself, it will appear as the ultimate output. So whichever that we put over here, it will appear, and it should appear right in front of the web page itself. Okay. And then the third rule, when we see this structure itself, what comes to our mind is that now head, body, then you see feet. So when you put this up here, it will appear up there. All right. And within the content itself, within each of the container itself, or the department itself, compartment itself, whichever that you put, okay, on top of the other, it will appear as it is. So what if I just put this H1 after navigation? It will appear as it is. Ooh. No. I haven't saved. Okay. So here is it. So when we look into this, it is like we reap what we sow. We put in what we put in, and it will appear just like how it should appear, as what we have put in. All right. So our structure over here actually determines how our page content looks like. All right, so this is what I want all of us to take note as well. So if you have already downloaded and installed the Expo CLI, what I want all of us to do is that, okay, run this command, Expo init awesome app. All right. When you run this command, let me put it in here. How does Expo client get involved here? Okay, Expo client. Okay, now run this command first. And when we look into, okay, when you run this command, right, you will be asked to choose a template. All right, one is blank TypeScript. So choose the blank, and then you can use the up arrow and down arrow on your keyboard, all right, to choose which template that you want to choose, but choose the blank template and press enter. All right, a minimal app as clean template itself. Okay, it will download and extract project files for quite some time. Expo client actually allows us why it shows Expo is not recognized. Okay, have you installed Expo CLI? This one. Let me highlight the Expo CLI. Okay. You should have this first. So have you run this npm install -g expo -cli? So you have to npm install this first. Then and only then you can actually initialize. It is already installed, but Expo is not recognized. Okay, so you have installed the package manager of Expo CLI, but it is not working. All right. Okay, we will see to it later. So for us that have actually initialized, right? Initialize the awesome app. Okay, you can find your awesome app inside your folder actually. Okay, so where did you install it? You actually install it in your user. So in Windows C itself, you have users, you have your username, and then you will see your awesome app. All right. So if you have initialized it successfully, which means Expo initialized, init stands for initialized, then awesome app, then you will have your awesome app over here. So wait for it to install the JavaScript dependencies first. But it shows Expo is not recognized. Okay, wait here. In this case, I should delete the SS and paste the second command. Okay, over here, I'm still loading the image. I still can't see the image yet. Okay, so some of us have done, some of us have not done yet. So the ones who have done, you can go into App Store or you can go into Google Play Store. So in case you are actually using Android, you can go to Google Play Store. In case you're using iOS, you can go to App Store. So in the App Store itself, okay, you can find, or in the Google Play Store itself, you can find Expo client. All right, install it in your mobile itself. Okay, after installation, you will see that you will have the Expo client app. All right, which has the same symbol as this one. So you will see that you have the Expo client app in your mobile phone itself. So how do you use the Expo client app? If you have done installing all the JavaScript dependencies, my replacement class. Yes, you can actually quit first. Download Expo client. You have replacement class at 5:30. Wow. Okay, download your Expo client, and then okay, these are the things that you need to run. Why CD? It is change directory. Okay, so inside here, should put, okay. All right, so I've put this into the chat box. CD awesome app, because you want to change directory to your awesome app directory that you have already created. So if your project is ready, all right, you should be able to CD awesome app. Once you CD awesome app, you are inside that folder itself. You're inside that directory itself. And once you put Expo start, you should be able to start your project of awesome app. Now, if we are wondering, okay, why should I have the Expo client over here? Now, when we use Expo, okay, if you happen to have the Expo ready, and if you happen to have no problem with your Expo, you should be able to invoke your project using Expo Metro client itself. And you can choose to run on web browser, or you can choose to scan this QR code. All right, scan this QR code with the Expo client that you have on your mobile phone itself. So if you choose to scan that QR code, your mobile phone will have the awesome app project, all right, from the Expo client itself. Download Expo client, no, not in the computer, in your mobile phone. So if you're using Android mobile phone, you download from the Google Apps, Google Play Store. All right. If you're having an iPhone, then you are downloading from iOS App Store. Search for Expo client, then download into your mobile phone. Okay, so once you download in your mobile phone, your Expo client itself, your Expo app, all right, your Expo app will have a scanner. Can I choose blank template? When I choose blank template, reason is the client network socket disconnected before secure TLS connection was established. Before secure TLS connection was established. Okay, so this one is going for the TLS connection. Okay, this one I will address tomorrow. All right, for the TLS connection. So your mobile phone will have, when it has the Expo client app, you can actually choose to scan QR code. When you choose to scan QR code, you can actually scan the QR code that is on your screen itself. All right, you can enlarge it, or you can actually just scan it like that. Okay, when you scan it, it will actually appear in your mobile phone itself, whatever that is in your project. But if you want to run it in web browser, yes, you may do so. You can actually just click on the run in web browser. It will actually start the bundler, and it will actually appear, it should appear in your web browser itself, your project itself. But not everything is supported by the web browser, which is why I need all of us to download the Expo client itself. Okay, so that will be all that we need to do for today. All right, tomorrow we will actually go into the deeper part of JavaScript and finish up with the AJAX. And then we will straight go into React Native itself to see that we can develop a simple application from there. So I will upload the scripts, all right, into the file section of the MS Teams as well. How to scan it? Okay, open up your Expo client app. All right, just press on the scan QR code. I don't know whether you can see this. Is this blurred? Okay, so you can actually open up in your when you open up in your phone itself, your Expo client, you will have the scan QR code option over here. So press on it and you can scan the QR code using your mobile phone itself. After scan, it shows something wrong. Okay, if something went wrong, it only means that, okay, you are not using the same network for your mobile and also your computer itself. So if you're not using the same network, you can choose tunnel. So after you choose tunnel, okay, after you choose tunnel connection and successfully ran ADB reverse, okay, when it appears here, tunnel is ready, then scan again. Then I think it should be no problem. LAN is always the default connection. But if both of your devices are not connected to the same network, there goes something went wrong. So there goes you need to choose tunnel, because I believe that maybe your mobile is using the mobile data and your computer is using your house internet itself, then it will have something that clash. But if you choose tunnel, yes, it will be better. It should be able to solve the problem. App.js to start work. Yes. It should appear like this. Open up app.js to start working on your app. So it will have a same welcoming message over there. All right. So if your phone actually have this opening message, you actually have the correct way of opening up your app. Okay. So I'm going to close this section, but I will actually wait for another 15 minutes for the ones who are having problem. So for the ones who have already done with this, okay, you have this on your Expo client, or you are having this on your web browser itself, it means you have already successfully done with this project itself. You may choose to leave. All right, while I will just look into the problem of some of us who might have problem of opening up the app. All right, so for those who have done, thank you very much for joining today. Thank you very much for extending your time. All right, you may actually leave the room if you need to, if you have something else to do. Thank you very much. And for those of us who have a problem of opening up or problem of running the project itself, okay, I will see that if I can actually look through the problem and solve it right here. Now, it says here that some of us, we have blank template. So Guan Hing, for your case, right? I will try to look into, okay. So let me try to look into the web for your problem, the TLS connection. Request had failed. CLI. client network socket disconnected.
Hi, Miss
Yes.
Loo. Sorry for interrupt.
Yes.
I would like to announce something.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Here we got a feedback form I have sent in the chat room here, and kindly fill out the feedback form right after the workshop or after you done your project. If your response are very important in helping to assess the effectiveness of the workshop. Okay, so you can check, there's a link there. So if you would like to know more about the KLESF virtual events, you can like our Facebook page, the KLESF Kuala Lumpur Engineering Science Fair. So we will update the upcoming virtual events at the social media page. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you tomorrow for the session 2. Okay, so if still have any problems or question with the project, you may stay and ask.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
Susan.
you.
All right. Okay, for those who are staying with me, I think one of the okay client socket disconnected. All right. I would like to ask for Guang Heng. Okay. Is your line using proxy server? Is this the reply after I choose? Yeah, so it cannot be established. The TLS connection, don't know why my phone cannot install Expo client. Oh. Cannot install Expo client. For Guang Heng, right? Is your connection connected to a proxy server, or is it connected to a local LAN, LAN? If it is, it might actually go against some of the protocols of your proxy server. So which is why the client network socket actually disconnected. And for Moonyu, right? If your phone cannot install Expo clients, okay, it is okay. Then tomorrow I might want to give everyone another platform for you to, if some of us we do not have this platform itself, we might want to use another platform. So if I don't know how many of us are still here. Okay, if you are thinking of how you could actually open up the app.js, all right, the JavaScript file. So as usual, open folder. So you can actually open the folder of your created awesome app. So I have created over in here. Okay, so find your awesome app folder. Okay, just open that folder, select that folder. So this JavaScript file is over here, the app.js. So when we look into app.js just now, okay, when we look into the what was generated in our awesome app, which is the open up app.js to start working on your app, it actually reflects from here. Open up app.js to start working on your app. Okay, the export init. Okay, which template should you choose? Is that the blank template? How to scan in iOS Expo client itself in your application, right? You can find that the scan QR code. Okay, you can actually scan with the QR, use the scan QR code, and then once you choose scan QR code, you can actually scan the QR code in your web that is open up, which is this QR code. All right. Just scan it with the Expo client on your phone itself. Then you can actually have your project on your phone. Okay, some of us say that you can use your camera app. Yes, some of the camera app works, but some will not. You're using Subline. No, I changed to standard Wi-Fi. It worked. Okay. All right. So any other of us, we still have problem, you can actually maximize this time to let me know, so that tomorrow you can start right away into the project itself. All right. So this is actually just additional, yeah, on opening the project itself, because I planned to actually teach us on how to open the project itself tomorrow, because tomorrow we will have time to look into this. But yes, this is how we are going to open the project itself. So if the others have no problem with opening up the project, yes, you may actually just then it actually it is okay for this session itself. I'll be here for another 5 minutes. So if any one of us have any problem of installing or initializing the project, then you may tell me in the chat itself. Okay. Yes, it is at the right stage. If your phone app actually says that open up app.js to start working on your app, because it actually shows this page. All right. So if you run it on your web browser, okay, it will actually give the same page that you will have on your Expo clients as well. Can't see the shared screen. Oh, all right. so it is not shared now. This is weird. Because at here, it still shows that it is being shared. Let me see. Okay, how about now? Okay, so just now we are on this. Open up add.js. All right. Okay. It's been a while that it is not shown. Maybe the line problem. Okay. But do not worry. This session is recorded, so you all may be able to look back into the recording. I am actually happy and surprised that Guan Yao is here. How come Guan Yao is here? Okay. Because he's my student in Utah, so I taught him in some of the class. So it's like, okay. After run Expo start, I need to install Expo client to scan the code. Yes. Yep. The Expo client you need to install from your mobile app. Yeah. So if you're using iOS, then you are going to App Store. If you're using Android, then you are going for Google Play Store. After scanning, the code will appear. The code will appear. What kind of code will appear? So is this appearing on your application itself? The open up app.js to start working on your app itself. If this one is appearing on your mobile phone, then yes. Yes, if this appears on your phone, then you have just completed initializing your first project in your mobile phone. A copy of the HTML file. Yes, I've sent it into the files. So I will drag this to the shared screen. So, oh, why is this in such a way? Wow, my computer is super laggy. Okay. Yes, on your phone app, if it says that open up app.js to start working on your app itself, then it is correct. I can't install Expo client. Can't catch up the progress. Can't install Expo client. The HTML file, right? Ananta, you can just go to the files. Okay, once you go to the files, you will see a list of, this one is today's slides, and then this one is, it contains all the samples. So it contains even the codes that are more than that, right? More than what we have learned just now. So you will be able to see the samples over here. Okay, for exercise 1 until 4. Okay, it doesn't just contain the exercise 1 and 2. All right, so you can find it in the files over here. Now in what we have here is it actually how do I look at all the replies? Okay, for Munyu, right? You can't install the Expo client, and your device is not able to install the Expo client. If it is, then it's all right. It is okay. We can actually view it from other place. Right. But normally the Expo client can be installed. If your camera app can actually be used, then yes, can. You can use your camera app. Because some of us, we can actually use the camera app. So it doesn't necessarily just the Expo client app itself. So what about the others? Okay. I'll be here for another 2 minutes. Yes, I think I've dragged you all along for another hour by now. If I scan the QR and it says try again, request is timed out. Request is timed out. Okay. Just now I've shown in the. All right, I've closed it. Just now I've shown in the QR scanning there. There is one section over here. Okay, let me show this. There is one section over here which is the tunnel LAN. All right. Choose the tunnel. See whether it is okay or not. Because if your mobile device is connecting to another network and your computer is connecting to another network, then the LAN will not work. The LAN will not work. Right. So you cannot use the local area network. You need to use the tunnel. See whether this one will solve the try again the request timeout error. All right. Okay. All right. I've dragged you for long, but if any of us you still have experienced some of the problem of installing and some of the things that is not working, you may actually drop your questions at here. All right, in this comment box itself, in this chat box itself. So tomorrow I will revisit this chat box so that I can see that, okay, if there's any problem, then we can actually address it earlier in the session. So that you can actually strike right away from the session tomorrow. All right, from the earlier session tomorrow. So thank you all for joining and thank you all for remaining with me. If you still have any problem, you can actually just address it in the chat box itself. All right, and yeah, have a great evening and see you all tomorrow. Hopefully you will come back tomorrow. Okay. I will just stop the recording of this session and I will stop the meeting. Thank you, Tsusan, for being here.